All right, we are El Livo
We're
on
live.
Facebook. On
Ooh,
Facebook. Well, not
sweet.
Facebook, YouTube.
The tube.
The Tube,
It's
yes.
the
The
tube
Tube,
that is
yes. The
ours. Yes.
Tube, we're on there live. So now let's go live as people wait with bated breath. Well, we know some people are listening. We'll get to that in a second. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Hey, everybody. It is Thursday, June 16th, and today is another exciting episode of the Prove It Live podcast. We have a packed show for you today, and maybe Michael will go scorched earth. We don't know. We may have got him over to the dark side. We'll see. He is wearing one of the most despicable players in Major League history's shirt on his back, which would be Cal Ripken. We can get
He
to that
is
in a whole nother show.
beloved
Nice,
figure.
selfish human being that he is. Anywho, so without further ado, I'd like you to introduce my very handsome co-host, Mr. Mike Ferry. Michael?
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for the kind compliment. Always nice to hear that be reinforced. I have mirrors at home, but it's nice to hear.
Yes, I hear that. Yes, it's always good.
So I do notice. I'm noticing a pattern here of seems that you have a problem with my jersey every episode. Last was the Red
It's
Sox
just
one.
well, the Red Sox, but I mean, let's in two. I'm just going to sum up in 2 seconds, okay? For those who are playing at home, okay, Cal Ripken is not a national hero, okay. During his streak, he was demoted. He batted .202 for a season. He made his team worse. Arguably, during the streak that Lou Gehrig had, was the best run in the history of Major League Baseball players. Those years, I don't know, driving in 145 runs. They called him the Iron Horse for a reason. He stopped playing because, let's see. Oh, yeah, he died. Okay. So Ripken would have been a national hero had he mentioned Cal Ripken once and maybe raised $1 for ALS. He didn't, and he went about it in a selfish way, playing to a point where he definitely made his team worse. And to boot, the Baltimore Orioles have never recovered from that, and they're at the bottom of the heap of baseball and where they should remain forever. Just my two thoughts.
That was Kevin's 2-second take on that.
There we go. Next.
Doesn't sound bitter at all. That was coming from a Yankee fan. Let's, just in all fairness. In all fairness.
Yeah, well, they're not making movies about Cal Ripken, okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but in fairness, I mean, the guy's, still alive. So it's,
well, he's dead. They can
movies are made posthumously.
Yeah. When they can make a movie about a guy who had some record, maybe had 400 home runs, never won a thing. Yeah. Perfect. Well, they can have the same movie with Mike Trout. What two guys will never win a title and languish in teams who suck? Mike Trout and Cal Ripken.
I'm not giving up on Trout yet, but I will concede.
I mean, he might get to the playoffs when he's 65. But miraculously, oh my God, isn't he hurt again?
They're going to make the playoffs this year.
No, they're not. Isn't he hurt again? He was hurt last year. Yeah, he's out.
Yeah, he might be. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well,
he mailed in last season. He'll probably mail in this season again. The best player. Yeah. Okay. So have an at bat that matters before we start saying best of anything.
Well, you're clearly passionate about this topic.
Oh, playing a division where teams are
different
good.
Though. I mean, you don't have a pitching staff. You might not ever get the chance to play in the playoffs, right? I mean,
you can't. I'm just saying you can't call someone the best of the best of the best ever who've never played in a playoff game.
Well, I think there's just talking about these the best. And I don't know that I personally would never say he's the best
practice hitter. I'm the best batting practice hitter of all time. Great.
In all fairness, awesome. I hear that he's the best, the best overall player today's game, and I agree with that.
I don't even agree with that.
Overall, really?
Who is? I mean, there's 10 guys who play in the playoffs every year. Like I'll take the center fielder for Tampa, Kiermaier. He's done it in the playoffs.
I understand.
Clutch home runs,
but because Trout doesn't have the opportunity, you can't put that on one guy in a baseball team. That's what I'm saying.
Well, he had his chance to go to another team. He elected to go back to California. So,
we're supposed to, loyalty is a dying.
Sure, that's sure.
Virtue.
You can say that, and I'm sure I'm in the vast minority that says that I need to see him on the big stage.
I just like you're in scorched earth mode already, so I'm
because we got to I'm very scorched. I'm very scorched already.
So we are. I am Mike Ferry from the Farm Baseball Performance Institute, along with Dr. Kevin McGovern from Motion Sport Therapy, yada yada yada. So top of the order, Kevin. And
Yes.
there's another thing I think is going to get you a little riled up here. So, but paying attention to social media and Twitter. We don't have time to watch every baseball game out there, but there's seemingly a lot, and I mean a lot of position players being called in to come pitch in games recently, this season really, and more specifically over the last few weeks. There's blowouts, and so position players have been called into pitch. Two things to that. Number one, it begs the question, and it has been bandied about a little bit. Should there be a mercy rule at the big league level? And it's not like a certain amount of runs like as the youth level, but kind of like a boxer. Like if you think that you're at the point of no return, and you got to start getting so deep in your bullpen that you now affect your pitching staff for the rest of the month, maybe season, you throw in the towel. So it's. I think it's a worthy question. I think I know your stance on this. So let's hear it. What do you think?
Well, so let's take it from a dad's point of view. It's
Okay.
Father's Day coming up.
Indeed.
I took my two children to see Detroit, right? So their new Comerica ballpark. I spent, we'll say Detroit prices as opposed to Boston prices. Instead of $55, I probably paid $35 to park, right?
Yep.
I paid $70 with ticket fee. So let's say I spent $300 on tickets, hot dogs, a souvenir. So I'm in over $500. And at the sixth inning, you're going to tell me that my game is over because Major League Baseball players can't get outs. Is that what you're going to tell me?
That's
I've got to tell my kids that we've got to go home early because the multimillionaires on the field, the pitchers, can't seem to get anybody out. But my guess is they're throwing 99 miles an hour, but they can't get anybody out.
Well, here's one of the reasons I think you're seeing position players so swiftly nowadays versus because again, and I looked to try to find, the numbers, and I'm sure if I really dug deep into Baseball Reference, we could find some more specific numbers, but I'm just going by what our eyeballs are telling us. And I'm not the only one seeing it clearly. People are talking about social media. So this is a thing where position players are coming in to pitch, and I think it's happening so quickly. One of the things is it's, I think sort of widely considered an insult for pitchers to come into games that are blowouts.
An insult.
Yeah. So
Okay.
So I think pitchers not wanting to come in games and blowouts leaves the manager in a position. Do I pee off my pitching staff, my pitchers, or, and again, it's almost as if they're saying they're giving up at that point, right? If you're bringing some guy to come in and throw 48 miles an hour, and some of these pitchers, Kevin, I've seen them, like they literally have an arc. I mean,
I saw him. Yeah, one guy hit a couple.
These are still big leaguers. I mean, you figure they throw the ball, at least in the upper sevens, you get a couple guys out there throw the ball 85 miles an hour.
Didn't Jose Canseco came in to pitch and blew out his elbow?
He did.
Right?
He did.
So that's a memorable position player. We had a son of I guess should be Hall of Famer. Should Hall of Famer. Clemens' kid come in to throw.
Yep, that was just a couple days ago. And by the way, does not have his dad's arm.
No, I mean, maybe there should be some. You use the pitcher. If the pitcher refused to come in the game, you just, you cut him. I don't know, or you bring up someone. How many people want an opportunity to pitch in the major leagues, right? That don't get that opportunity, right?
Right.
You're gonna say, I'm not gonna pitch. Like,
no, I'm with you. I don't, and like again, that's sort of a hearsay thing. I've seen a couple of people throw that out that seem to be sources that sort of a thing. I do kind of get it. Obviously, they want to pitch in meaningful games, etc. But look, they're employees. You're there to do a job. Like your boss tells you to go pitch a game, you go pitch in the game, and you're right. Like there's guys in the minor leagues that are capable, and I just think that it really gets. Going back to the idea of a mercy rule is like if you're throwing in the towel, because you are, when you're throwing a position player out there, you're jeopardizing that position player. Someone's going to come in and shut him down, or you're going to come back and win that game. You're giving up. So why not have some rule where they can just give up? I mean, it's not a good look for baseball. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe you need to have, like hockey does, right? Doesn't hockey have like a third or fourth goalie that's sitting in the stands? Right? I remember last year the guy got
Yeah.
to play, right? Because
Yep.
both goalies went injured.
Yeah, he's just a local
So you
guy.
have what you do is you have some local,
Kevin McGovern
amateur,
sitting in Fenway.
some Kevin McGovern sitting in the stand, just saying, okay, I'll come in and throw.
Not
Just
a bad
for the
idea.
meal, just for the meal, right? I'll throw
Yep.
my ass off, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So not a
So
bad
maybe
idea.
that's what they should have. Have a couple of local, men's league amateurs. They come in and throw, right?
Get some guys that are capable
We
in some of those leagues.
we face guys that throw in the 90s still and play amateur baseball, right?
We're sure. Absolutely.
We face guys like had guys on the team with Felix Ortiz that throws 33 miles an hour that no one could hit because no ball was straight, right? So yeah, baseball is the only sport, right, where you can numbers up. I mean, you score 30 points in a Division II basketball game. That guy, you can't compare that guy to the guy scoring 20 points in an NCAA Division I game because size and speed. But baseball is pretty much 90s 90, right? I mean, there's no difference if you're throwing 90 in high school and 90 in the majors. It's 90. So
right. Which, as you know, like that's the thing. 90, of course, is nothing anymore, right? It's got to be 95 and 99, and that's the other thing that drives me bananas about the position player thing is like, hey, everything's all about velocity. You can't even be a middle reliever, unless you got some funky, arm action. You come from a different slot. If you're a standard, sort of prototypical pitcher, yeah, you got to be throwing 95 or higher before you even get a sniff. But it's interesting to watch, and I don't think it's good for the game. So they got to do something. And it's about these blowouts. It starts with like there's blowouts, which I know we're going to talk about, Kevin, is these pitchers, everyone's saying, the pitching's the best it's ever been.
Says who?
It says
not
who?
Not by numbers, not by injury rate, not by innings, not by wins, not by ERA.
It's crazy. I mean, so
who's like what idiot? And you are a farging idiot to say the pitching is better because the results aren't there, right? So the only thing is there is maybe the batting average, but is less. But compare any pitcher, frontline pitcher from the 80s blows away any pitcher now in wins, in innings, in whip, in everything. And they're not throwing 100 miles an hour.
And so, and that's the thing. So this is like, we've changed the measure of like what it is to be a great pitcher, right?
So great pitchers, you throw really hard for 3 days and then you're out for, how many, so taking us to, where we are now, last time we were on the air, we lost 3 or 4 players to Tommy John. And now this week, the Dodgers lost their best pitcher. The Toronto Blue Jays lost their best pitcher. And arguably the Washington Nationals lost their 1A or 1B pitcher, probably for the rest of his career at this point.
Yeah. How many, this is how many times?
Well, I know he's at Strasburg's at 2 Tommy John. Now he has thoracic outlet. And for those playing at home, whoever's operating on thoracic outlet needs to be imprisoned, literally imprisoned. I think.
So what's that entail? That
so right under your neck here. Well, first of all, you have a thoracic outlet because the nerve, artery, and vein that innervates your arm comes out of that little fossa here, a little soft spot between your collarbone. You can feel right at your neck. Okay. It comes out and goes down. That's called your brachial plexus. I'm going to say about 29 years ago, I could name all of the nerves there, but I'm not going to do that. So, thoracic outlet is these 3 fingers. So your middle, your ring, and your pinky finger go numb. Okay. And the test for that is literally this, right? Come up like, your hands, like you're kind of being arrested. Okay.
Right.
That's the test for it. Oh my God. Mike, what's that? Oh, is that how Steven Strasburg pitches? Yes, he does.
Yep.
Right. So when I do that, you'll see that I shrug and I impinge that fossa and impinge my brachial plexus. Okay. Because when you lift your arms, your shoulder blade should depress. You've heard us say that ad nauseum.
Yes.
But now this man, I believe Harvey, right? Isn't he in prison though for drugs or distributing drugs? Right. Who was the guy from the Mets? The one who gave the guy from California the drugs. What was his name? He's been suspended.
I know who you're talking about. And I don't remember. I know he's.
Isn't that his last? I think he's for the Orioles now. But he also had thoracic outlet surgery. So underneath your neck, right
Matt
below
Harvey,
there, Matt Harvey, there
Okay.
is a what they call a first rib. It's a false rib. Some of your scalene muscles attached to it, but your scalenes are so thin and small. It's your traps that's causing this. So they're going to take that rib out and decompress his alleged brachial plexus to stop the numbness down his hand. That surgery will fail, okay, because it's never going to work, because that's not the reason why he wasn't born with thoracic outlet, right?
Right,
And you don't
right.
just get it, right? You've got to make poor movements to get it. It's an overuse injury, but they're going to do surgery on him to fix him. And right? He just signed a huge deal with them, which he'll never play out that deal.
And
And
he's
it's
a
a shame.
big inverted W guy. I mean, he's really
Huge, huge, and he was worse when he was in college, and no one. And again, we can make fun of, and there's a lot of stuff that Mike Marshall had talked about that's but one thing he did talk about that you and I completely agree on is throwing a pie. Baseball is just
Right.
throwing a pie straight down, right?
Yep.
And no kid, no girl, no boy, little boy ever picks up a ball for the first time and gets in an inverted W,
Ever.
gets into a T,
points it backwards,
W, or puts their arm backwards. They
Yep.
turn and they throw it like a pie.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And until you fix arm path, these are major issues. I mean,
and why aren't people doing that? Like, it's still I know we talk about it, but it drives me.
So what's the
bonkers.
contract between Strauss? I don't know what Ree is making him, but I'm sure he's making a double-digit million. We know Walker Bueller's making a fortune. We know Strasburg's making a fortune. So let's just say that's $100 million in salary gone in 1 week, in a 3-day span, actually, gone. And no one cares. No one gives a shit. No one cares. No one says, gee, then you got Tom House apparently on the Detroit talking about this guy's got good mechanics, and they show there's a still picture of the guy he's talking about on Twitter with an inverted W and a drag of the foot. What are you talking about, Tom House? What are you talking about?
Right.
You cannot drag anything. You cannot cause friction. You cannot cause anything that reduces spinal turn and flexion. Okay. You cannot drag your foot. I don't care if so-and-so did it 30 years ago. Good for them. You cannot teach it. You just can't do it. We have bigger, stronger athletes on the same stupid mechanics that continually cause injury, and no one does anything. I mean, I was just at a Babe Ruth game, watching my daughter's softball game. The Danvers, Massachusetts, whatever, the 13-year-olds, there's not one pitcher on that field will ever pitch in high school. Not one. They will all be injured. One kid, dude, literally, it looked like he took his arm back and then flipped his wrist like this to throw. Like, what is that? What is that?
It's look at, you go to any little league game, right? Any little league game or any little league, and of course I can see it personally here in the Northeast. I know this has happened pretty much everywhere. They're all getting instruction now, and it's from the town coaches, and God bless them. Like, we talked about it so many times, like they're doing their best. And, look, you could look out and get a good guy in that, a girl who had played, dumb diamond sport in high school or college or whatever, but the majority of them, they don't. And so, all these leagues, they have this like 1 day, thing where they teach the coaches. And so I saw a game where in warmups, they had all the kids doing this big T. And so, if you're getting instruction, that's what it is. The opposite side of that is they get absolutely none. They just don't know. They might teach fielding and hitting and all that stuff, a couple tips on this, that, but nobody understands how the arm should move. Nobody understands, that the arm needs to be just a conduit of energy, not a conductor. The arm goes along for the ride. People don't understand that, I mean, it's, and that's the biggest thing that I see. But even at the big leagues, that level, they don't talk about it. Again, you just go ahead and let Strasburg go and have another surgery. I was about to look it up. I should have before the show. I didn't think of it. Like, I want to look up, how many quarterback, because thoracic outlets, like, I think we talked about it in an earlier podcast. It's a prevalent thing now. It's like, I remember I asked you, I said, what's with this thoracic outlet? Like, it's popping up all the time now.
So two things on that, on both of your points. So I looked it up. So the Little League instruction, okay. I'm here in Acton, Massachusetts. I specialize in arm injuries. I've done it for over 20 years now. I reached out to the Acton, Boxborough, Babe Ruth, and Little League. I was both told they're all set. I didn't ask for money. Oh, we have a therapist. Okay, so great. Is he teaching you arm injuries? Uh, it's like, okay, so I was refused. Like, I'm going to give a free camp to come down and talk to you, about arm
about arm
injuries.
health. Yeah.
Nothing. They said, no, we're all set. Both organizations, both.
Yep. Yep.
So,
It's amazing.
It's absolutely amazing.
Well, the part, not to get too deep in the town, but I can tell you, the problem that lies there is like it's almost like, a lot of these little leagues, and I'm sure the same as with Babe Ruth, you have a bunch of dads, parents that, it's like they're playing fantasy baseball. They're coaching the team. They're drafting the picks. It's like, these summer teams, they make all-star teams out of them. Right. And you know who the local coaches are, and you can chalk up the first 6, 7, roster spots, boom, right there. Right. For their kids. That's what they're doing. And they don't want anything in the end from the outside to come and interfere with that, because I tell you, countless times I've offered free stuff, free clinics to the leagues, and to, to promote health and to try to
nope. And then on the other, when you talk, so the first time when someone calls my office, which I'm running probably at about a 50% rate, meaning that I accept 50% of the people with arm injuries who call me, because the first thing that I clear is you are hurt for one reason and one reason only, is you have poor mechanics.
Right.
I give them the whole tennis player story. Like, you don't see any tennis player being out. They don't need 4 days rest. There's no Tommy John. Okay. Cause they throw downhill. Okay. And half of those fathers or parents will walk away.
Yeah.
And those people should then walk away and be referred to DSS, Department of Social Services, right? Like, I had one guy tell me, the guy last week was a referral from a guy, I work with this kid, and he had a growth plate issue where the cartilage is ripping off of his bone. And I said, this is a mechanical issue, and this is serious. Went gone. He's going to go to some other fly-by-night therapist, because he didn't want to hear that. Now, of course, always every single person also has the pitching coach.
Right.
And I said, I will not work with anyone who has a pitching coach, because they are the cause of this. One, because they know nothing. Again, they probably had sunflower seeds, which I never did. I never took a bus from, Chattanooga to Nashville on a bus. Okay. But what I did do is the 2 years later. No, I just said I wasn't in professional baseball, but I was for 2 years as a trainer in the independent league. And for those who don't know, independent league are all retreads of former Major League Baseball players. Okay. And I had the pleasure of working with, I believe, 8 first-round draft picks in the 2 years I was with the Nashua Pride. All 8 out of baseball. All 8 did exactly their rehab program. 75% of it was exactly opposite of what I would do. I had a guy who was drafted, I'll remain nameless, but he was drafted in the mid to late 90s, number 6 overall, lefty. Was with the Marlins, got hurt, got surgery by James Andrews, and his rehab with said major league team was shoulder shrugs and lateral raises. I kid you not, Michael. I kid you not. 2 things that if I saw someone do, I would taser them to get them to stop immediately.
You never need to do shrugs unless you're a bodybuilder, right?
Shrugs.
You never need to do them.
No, shrugs is the exact opposite of how the shoulder should work.
Right.
So like that person needs to be tackled. But here we are, guys at them, and we've had, we had Kevin, the former trainer for the Marlins, on saying that guys are just doing ridiculously stupid things, so much to the fact that he got out of Major League Baseball because he couldn't take it anymore. Right. That's saying something.
That is saying something. And I'll tell you the other thing too, I think that's changed. It has to be discussed. You hit on the head. I mean, obviously you're not talking, you got a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid. It's got an injury, a 12-year-old kid. You're not dealing with that kid. You're not transacting with that kid. It's the parents. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing. And I chalk it up to, because it's the competitiveness of the parents. And and sorry to say it, I've experienced this for what, 20 years now. It's this vicarious living of these parents.
Oh yeah,
And that's the
dude,
thing.
you
Like,
should see my 9-year-old. He's given up one earned run all season.
that's
He's 9, dude.
unbelievable.
Don't
He's
talk to
9,
me till he
facing
hits
other
puberty.
9-year-olds.
Yeah,
Right.
don't talk to me till he
You
hits
know,
puberty.
I tell people all the time, I say, hey, look, the quote unquote stud, the great player at 12U in your town,
Mm-hmm.
98+% chance that that's not the stud at 15. I mean, they almost, very rarely are they still. And it's, for various reasons, but it seems that that's all that they care about. Hey, my kid hit 30 home runs. Well, his swing is not sustainable. Once he's not facing 50 miles an hour anymore, and he's not 4 inches taller than everybody, and he can swing a -13 bat, he's not going to be able to continue to do this, but hey, don't broke. It's not broke. Don't fix it. So, but that's sort of what you're getting, I think, with, these kids are coming to you like their kids hurt, but well, if it means I'm going to have to change my mechanics, if it means you're going to have to stop seeing my pitching coach, sorry, no can do. And that's bonkers. That's bonkers to me, but that's what
bonkers,
it is.
dude. Like it's like, well, my pitching coach is awesome. Well,
Yeah.
how are you grading awesome? Your kid's on the shelf for 3 months out of the year. How is that? What's your grade of awesome? Because I know what mine is. Like, from 60 feet, my players can throw strikes blindfolded from 45 and are injury free. So what's your definition of awesome?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Well, he's on a pitching program, and we got this pitching program from the Cleveland Indians. I'm making that up, hypothetical, some big league team.
Well, you can't, because there's no Cleveland Indians anymore.
Well, that's right. Well, that's sort of why I used it. But you get the point. It's like, oh, well, we got this pitching program from this big league team. It's like, well, have you looked at the injuries in the big leagues? Like, have you taken a look? Have you heard the Prove It Live podcast where we talked about how just pitchers alone are 1.5 times the injuries of the entire National Football League in a season?
Mike, just say that one more time.
Major League just pitchers alone are 1.5 times the injuries of the entire National Football League in 2021.
That's
2022 is going to be worse.
League worse. That's the National Football League.
Yes.
Where when they snap the ball,
where giant men are killing each other.
They're trying to kill you.
Right.
Yes.
Yep. Where they hit so hard that they're always worried about concussions on every play.
As far as I know, no one is trying to tackle the pitcher unless there's a fight, maybe. But even then, so yes.
Speaking of, so I did look up, and there's only a couple quarterbacks I saw. They're college guys, only 2, and they're talking about a very rare thoracic outlet syndrome for quarterbacks.
And I can guarantee,
not rare for pitchers.
I can guarantee if we go and look at these pitchers, I guarantee if we go and look at these football players, upper trap shrugs, shoulder rolls, lateral raises, front raises, excessive bench press with elbows out here are, I guarantee, part of their training process. All exercises that will absolutely ruin a shoulder. Ruin it. Like, dude, this is like day one kinesiology. First of all, if you abduct your shoulder more than 15 degrees, your pec major shuts off. Your pec minor turns on. What's your pec minor do? It's connected to your chromium process, which then will mush your shoulder. So why are you doing stuff out here? Oh, I saw it in Men's Health magazine. Or some, celebrity trainer says that they do this. Yeah, well, what's that celebrity trainer's record, right? What's their record?
Well, plus there's the crossover too. There's this big crossover. I mean, right? So like we talked about bodybuilding. If you're a bodybuilder, I'm sure you have to do shrugs, right? You have to have symmetrical traps and all this other stuff, right?
Of course.
You don't need that.
You're posing.
Right. You're right. It's an aesthetic.
You're not an overhand throwing athlete. Correct.
It's an aesthetic. And there's lots of those Olympic lifts. I know you're a proponent, as am I, of Olympic lifts, but there's
perfect form.
And just there's some things that are unnecessary. Like I always said, look, if you want to be a pitcher, you're going to go work out. And I've said this to my high school pitchers before. You want to have a beach body or a pitcher's body? Decide, because they're not really the same. You want to be built like an upside down golf tee or a street cone if you're a pitcher. Big in the butt and the legs and smaller and limber up top. And it's I don't understand why it's so hard to grasp. I mean, the ball's 5 ounces. It's not heavy. It's easy to throw, and you need flexibility.
And I want to go back to something we've talked about, this quest for velocity, because I don't care what anybody says. These guys are not throwing harder, maybe 1 to 2 or 3 miles an hour. Okay. We just have to turn to the sport I'm watching right now, golf. Okay. Golf has TrackMan, which Major League Baseball uses. As soon as that ball is hit off the club, it has velocity off of the golf club, 137 miles an hour, 100.
Yep.
That's exactly what's happening with Major League Baseball. As soon as that ball is out of the hand, it's being measured for speed. Whereas 20 years ago, it was measured at home plate.
Right.
So when Goose Gossage came in and threw 94 or hit Ron Say in the head at 95 miles an hour, that's a 100-mile-an-hour pitch from my left
or more. It's
more
8 or 9 mile an hour drop from hand to plate is not uncommon.
So you're measuring something now 60 feet closer than what you were with better accuracy than you were back then. I can guarantee the technology of the radar gun has gotten better now. It's going to be more accurate. So when you have, all I know is as a kid, in Yankee Stadium, you could hear the glove pop from 400 feet away with Goose Gossage warming up. You could hear it. Okay. So don't tell me that these guys, Bob Fellers, the Bob Gibsons, the
Nolan Ryan,
the Nolan Ryans, all these guys didn't throw that hard. They did.
Nolan Ryan.
They did. I'm sorry.
Throw out a first pitch. He's like 60 years old. You know, it was when he was 60 years old. I remember this in a Houston game. And it was fumes. Right?
Yeah.
He said, boom.
Right. And I don't want to hear that it's so we might be talking 1 to 3 miles an hour. Okay.
And maybe. Maybe
and these guys are still
more of them.
And these guys, there might be more of them. Yep. And these hitters are still turning on it like it's nothing. Right. They're not, because if you were throwing 101, 102, and it's at the plate at 102, you can't see that. You just can't. Mathematically, you just can't. You can't see it.
Well, you can't. And not only that, but something you started to say there that I want to stick on for a second is that, the velocity is there, but there is more of them and they don't have the commands.
No,
guys, I remember, it was like 1992, whatever year. Well, now it was later than that because Pedro was with the Red Sox. But I remember it was a game. It was Pedro and Mike Messina, and I was at my the facility I used to work at before this one. I remember saying to the kid that I was with, I was like, watch this, like watch how many times, like they just hit their spots constantly. If you watch a game now, pitchers miss their spots like an insane amount of a number of times. It's insane. Miss wildly.
And they don't have
down and away,
and they don't have the command of their secondary pitches. Right.
It's
in the dirt. It's over the. It's like. It's all over the place. They just don't have that command.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal. All right.
So
what else?
Well, they say, Michael, and we've had this happen. Imitation is a form of flattery.
Highest form of flattery.
Yes, so we have been talking on this show for months now about a project that we're working on of revamping pitch smart, I guess, which is what it's called, which has its place, right? Which is the amount of pitches, but we certainly don't believe that it's pitches at all because there's pitch counts now and the injury rate is through the roof. That there has to be some sort of visual assessment, there has to be a functional assessment, actual hands-on strength testing, motion testing, in addition to pitching. Right. And that's going to be our yet named program, but we are going to have a system that we've talked about on the show where the pitcher comes off before the game, after the bullpen, and after each inning. And if he fails the physical tests, he's out, regardless if he's thrown 2 pitches, 20 or 30, because it only takes one, right? It only takes one bad movement for that tendon in the shoulder or the elbow to snap. So lo and behold, the arch enemy of baseball, for most people who have a brain, which most coaches or college coaches don't have a brain. They just like the new funkiest tool, so they don't have to deal with it. We have DRIVELINE baseball, home of the run as fast as I can and throw it into the wall, doing a 1.5 somersault and sticking the landing, and watch the radar gun, I guess these are called running pole. I don't know what they're called.
Running guns.
Running guns, but they are commonplace. But I've never seen a pitcher run and gun, right? Because you have to start off on a stable piece. You've got to sink, you've got to load, get potential energy, and throw. So the running gun does nothing but destroy arms because you're not using your legs to run and gun because you never get into a functional loaded position to throw. You just don't, right? So unbelievably, Michael, and you're gonna find this to be shocking. As I showed you yesterday, these folks at DRIVELINE came out with a article about pitch counts and how the pitch smart is not doing its job. Can you? I mean, I find it slightly coincidental. Now, I mean, maybe you've got, but a company that is hell bent on throwing the ball as hard as you can is now talking about arm safety.
Interesting.
Quite right.
I'm not sure.
Things I think, as Arsenio Hall once said, things to make you say, But if you read the article, these morons still talk about grouping pitchers, Little League pitchers, by velocity. So who are the bigger kids who throw harder versus the little kids? They should be grouped. So apparently the littler kids who aren't throwing as hard should throw less pitches. Okay.
Yep.
And then the bigger kids who probably have hit puberty should throw more pitches. They'll be allowed to throw more was the basis. There were like 4 groups. And I looked through the article twice. Nowhere in the article did it talk about movement, because we could have some kid do some crazy thing like the kid I just saw who went and got the pizza pie and threw. I mean, his next pitch could be his last. Okay. Yep. So they didn't talk about anything about movement, but now, of course, the morons that follow them on social, oh my God, this is so revolutionary. This is so great. No, it's not. It's not. Okay, yes, you put some article about pitch count. Great, we should look at pitch count. But dude,
still
again,
missing the point wildly.
It's the movement, okay?
Right.
And no kid we should be talking about until they've hit puberty. I don't want to talk about any kid going here, going there, doing he's elite, he's that, because we just have to watch the Little League World Series where the second baseman is 4'9", the first baseman is 6'1", and they're the same age. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Right? I mean, come on.
So I'll tell you this. So a couple things. Number one, of course, the timing is at a
very
minimum
suspect.
At a minimum, it's completely suspect. And by the way, I am multitasking in case anyone. Hold on a second.
Yeah. Do we know who? I gotta look who wrote it. Does anyone? I want to see. It doesn't say who wrote it. Oh, it's a blog written by Devin Morgan. So do we know who this Devin Morgan is? Does he have any sort of medical qualifications? My guess is probably not, but let's Google his name and find out. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with writing your opinion, but it's whether we follow your opinion. Let's look him up now.
So while you're doing that, I'm gonna say a couple things. So number one, and this is the tough part, I think, is I've seen, and probably you've seen, there are plenty of kids out there that do this, that throw the ball hard, right? They do. And I've seen kids that have really long backsides, that also throw the ball hard.
Okay. Ready? There is
ready.
No doubt that this has been stolen from us.
Okay.
You fucking piece of shit. Okay, I'm gonna say that.
Easy.
I have no idea who this kid is. Never looked. I have been blocked. I went to his Twitter feed and I am blocked. I have no idea who this person is. Devin Morgan.
Is that the kid that posted it?
That's the kid who wrote this article. How could I be blocked if I have no idea? Because you blocked me preemptively because we'd look you up. You loser. So there's no doubt in my mind after seeing that this has been stolen from what we have talked about.
Well, I looked up at Devin Morgan, but I don't know if this looks like.
Well, he's DRIVELINE. He's bald and he's got a beard.
In his profile.
Devin Morgan. Yep. And I'm blocked from there. You piece of crap.
Well, maybe I am too, because I don't even see him.
You piece of, he probably did. If he blocked me, he's gonna block you, so we don't call him out. But we're calling you out.
DEVIN?
DEVEN. EN.
EN. Okay, there we go. Let's try that.
Let's see if you're in there.
DEVENMOR. And you know what? Okay, I think this is
Devin Morgan DRIVELINE. It's at Devin Morgan.
Yeah. Director of Youth Baseball.
Yep, and I'm blocked.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
That is.
How could I be blocked? I've never had any. I've never had any interaction with this guy.
Yeah. He's not.
Well, again, if anyone knows Devin Morgan, we'd love to have him on the show. He won't. Just like Lance Wheeler, they won't show up because we'll call them out. But hey, you're welcome to come on and give us your 2 cents. I'd love to know why you blocked me, since I have no idea who you are.
Right.
But did you block me preemptively because you knew we'd see this?
So,
and again, DRIVELINE, please, I beg of you, produce your yearly injury rate. How many people come through your program and end up injured, right? Because you should train for 2 reasons: 1, to improve your performance, and 2, to stay healthy. So please produce your injury rate. I love to see it, which you won't, but I can always ask.
So here's the thing. So I've just was on this guy's Twitter page.
Have you been blocked? Have you been blocked?
No, I haven't.
Well, you should tweet him.
But it's because I will. It's because I'm not. This. I'm not all that active on.
But I have no idea who the guy is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, so it looks like
maybe I was blocked today because I put it up there.
He's the founder of DRIVELINE. I'm guessing co-founder, because I know Cal Bodie is also one of the founders.
Yes, because I did put missing the boat again, grouping Little League pitchers by velocity. If the mechanics and movement are poor, just one pitch could be dangerous. So I put the article, and then I got a bunch of likes, and then a couple retweets, and then I was apparently blocked by this guy.
Oh, there you go. So that's what happened. Well, I can say this. He's obviously connected to he's connected to DRIVELINE very much. He's like a co-founder or a partner or whatever he is. Cal Bodie, of course, and he's got Trevor Bauer, right? And he's got some guys that he's helped, I guess, throw harder. But you're right, we don't see what the injuries are. That's a huge one. And it's all about just throwing hard. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you right now what they based this little thing that they have off of. It was a study that was done years ago, probably 6-7 years ago, that said this was one of the ones that said, wait, curveballs do not have any more adverse effect than fastballs. In fact, it's the fastballs that cause the most injury. Now,
there's more because you lock out.
But there's also so many. What's the word? There's so many variables. Variables that they were not able to. It's not even that the study was bad. It's like it's almost impossible to include all the variables. The kids that throw harder pitch more, right? Every team that kid's on, they want him to pitch. Kids that throw faster also tend to start throwing breaking balls earlier. They fancy themselves as primarily pitchers. There's so many things. Anyway, so the number one thing, yet again, completely omitted, is arm path, arm strength, weakness, all of that stuff, which ours, of course, includes. And if you're going to look at, how can you consider a pitcher like a high level pitcher at 10 years old, 11 years old? Versus an intermediate. I mean, come on. It's a weak attempt
by strikes and swings and misses. But if you're 10,
swings and misses, you could be throwing the ball at eye level.
Right, exactly.
Swings and misses. So,
well, anything you're evaluating anything that's requires human movement to do, and you're not evaluating movement as part of the principles, why bother, dude? Like, why bother?
I know. And that's the whole. And again, it's the same thing that we've been talking about since day one, since we started this podcast. Is it's our biggest gripe. It's the one thing that's just never talked about. Is let's take a look at this. Oh, here's a guy that ended up on the injured list. Let's take a look at his throw mechanics. Never. Mm-hmm. Never. Let's find similarities between a group of pitchers who are on the injured list over the last 5 years. Never. Right. I mean, you see patterns. I've seen the pattern. I remember talking about Strasburg. What was that? 2010, whenever it might have been. and predicting, just watching the guy pitch. I mean, he reminded me of like Mark Pryor, had a very similar,
Yeah.
maybe
And
not
if
as like vertical, but
and if our guy Trevor Bauer would ever get off suspension, because he is the next in line of my predicted Tommy John injury, because it's just a matter of time before he's a freak that has completely flexible tendons like Chris Sale.
Yeah.
But again, we haven't seen Chris Sale with some
I'm not sure we're ever going to see him again.
Some miraculous rib injury. Again, we're not playing football here. Like, I think quarterbacks get hit in the ribs and they can come back and play. But
I don't think we're going to see him again. And I don't think, and we're definitely not going to see him again as Chris Sale. I mean, that's pretty much a given, right? I mean, and that's the thing. So these things, like, why is this a big deal? Why do we talk about this a lot? Because it ends careers. And Chris Sale's lucky enough to have his career ended after he's become a multimillionaire, and most people aren't, right? And the kids and more importantly, coaches are emulating this stuff and teaching it to kids and showing them as this is the way. And if you have a pitching coach and he tells you to, do X, Y, Z, you're going to follow it as you should as a kid. You're going to listen to your coach, and that's why it's such a dangerous thing and so bad. So, great that we sparked at least more discussion about the old tired pitch count system. We got more, like, we have more, we do more. And we have it, by the way.
And the fact that pussy blocked me on Twitter just says everything. Why? Because you don't want to hear, you don't want to hear the truth, because your blindly led disciples follow you because their kid gained 5 miles an hour in velocity, but is playing lacrosse when they're 17 because their arm is falling off, right?
Yeah.
Because you refuse to talk about mechanics or arm path, and you have, again, just like with Tom House, he's got all these AI that mustered. Well, if you don't know what you're measuring, right, and if you don't know what's good and what's bad, what does it matter? Like, if you don't know how the body should deliver the pitch, why does it matter if you've got all these numbers, right? And until your numbers start to promote that when I throw the ball, I'm releasing it downhill, or I've started my movement last, don't talk to me, dude, because you're just injuring arms. You throw against gravity, you're going to get hurt. Just a matter of when.
Yeah, it's all just about the velocity. And that's what I'll say too, is like, for the parents out there, please stop chasing velocity. I mean, you wouldn't believe, you might. All the kids talk about is this kid, he's a good pitcher. See this kid that pitches from my town or from my school, whatever. Oh, is he? Right. Yeah, he throws 80 miles an hour, and he sits 80 and he tops out 83. It's the very first thing they say all the time. Not whether he gets outs, not how many innings he's gone without a hit, none of that. It's always the velocity, and parents are chasing this velocity. And if you have something online, you see something online that's advertised, it's going to say something about adding X amount of miles an hour to your fastball. And we have to stop chasing that as parents, please, because it's likely to get your son or daughter hurt.
And it's that kid who was on the New England Baseball Journal during the pandemic. I forget what year he was going to Northeastern. He was from like down south, like Foxborough or somewhere down there. I saw a still picture of him on the cover. I said, not sustainable. Someone told me, yeah, he already had Tommy John. Yeah. I'm just looking at a still picture and said, this movement is not sustainable. And boom, Tommy John. Like, but now they're talking about, I heard the Yankee announcers talk. It's like a rite of passage. Get it done. And, it's like getting the mole removed from your back. Get it done. Yeah. And then go forth. And, and that's, I guess, how Major League Baseball looks at it. I got a kid coming to see me who's a freshman. And I said, he's just tore it. He's a Division II, but a good Division II school. And I see the same thing. Weight all the way forward, dragging the back leg. It's not sustainable.
No,
when
clearly.
Are you people going to wake up? It's not sustainable. You can't drag your foot and drag your arm. You're going to get hurt.
And remember, the numbers are heavily in favor of what we're saying, right? And why is it getting worse? It's getting worse because it's being taught more. It's being emulated more. It's become the standard. It's become the way. And that's an issue. There's no facility out there. You're not going to see running guns and pull downs right now, and then probably weighted balls, right? So
just make sure that
not a coincidence.
Those cars, you put my flyers on, when I've got to repair the damage.
Right. Exactly. All right. So it's time for a Why Would You Do That?
Why would you
Why
do
would
that?
you? All right.
I don't know
So
what
a
this
little
is.
bit of a.
Is this alive? I don't. I gotta make sure
No,
you're.
I'm gonna.
I
This is
gotta.
not a visual. This is not a visual. Why would you do that? This is
Oh, this
a
is a verbal. Why would you do that?
verbal. Why would you do that? And I think that's one of the most important ones that we've had in a while. And for those that don't know, there is a pretty major umpire shortage,
Oh,
at
okay.
least
Yes.
in the youth sport and the youth game of baseball right now. It's everywhere in the country. I've personally seen the effects here. Just in youth games, you always get two umpires at a minimum. And I'd say the majority, maybe close to 50-50 anyway, 50% of the games that we've had this spring and now into early summer, we've only had one umpire because of this shortage. I also know of some local junior varsity high school games that were canceled or postponed because they were playing on the same day at varsity and they didn't have the umpires to support both games. So one had to be canceled. And this is, again, it's happening all over the country. And one of the major reasons that it's being cited is that people don't want to umpire, and they don't want to umpire because of the way that they're being treated. And it's not just the players and it's not just the coaches, although they're culpable. But a lot of them are citing the stuff that they hear from the sidelines, from parents, fans, siblings, whoever's out there watching these kids play, just absolutely berating these umpires, and not just berating them, because you might say, well, get some thicker skin, you get paid to do it. But these guys are being followed to their car. They're being threatened. Just recently, I think it was less than a week ago, coach in New Jersey sucker punched a 72-year-old umpire, broke his jaw. This is insane, people. This is insane. This is a game. It's a sport, and it's supposed to be, at least I believe it's supposed to be a vehicle to help teach young men and women how to be, better adults, how to be good young men and young women as they get older. And the things that we're teaching, that we're showing when we talked about not just mechanical stuff, but this is, these have lasting effects on what kind of person someone becomes. Coaches, you're a mentor, right? You're so influential, and you got to take that seriously. And I've seen it. I've seen the way that some umpires be treated by either opposing coaches or by, family members in the stands, and it's no good. So we've got to turn this around. We've got to stop, take a breath, realize this is a sport. And it's real simple. If you don't like, if your kid's not being trained well enough to your liking, just have them go somewhere else. Right. If you don't like the team that he's on, move to another team. It's not hard. It's really not hard. And leave the umpires alone, because they're just there. Like they don't have a vendetta against your son or daughter. Okay. There's a reason that they're there umpiring your son or daughter's game. They're not at some MLB park, some minor league baseball park, an independent park, an NCAA Division 1, 2, or 3 park, a JUCO park, an NAIA park. They're there for a reason. Okay. They're probably not the best, or at least not the best anymore. And that's what you're going to get. Be happy and thankful there, because without them, we can't play the game.
Well said, Michael. And also too, I can guarantee that story on Twitter, a third of the people applauded the coach for punching the umpire, and I don't even have to look.
There were some saying he deserved it.
Just like the other idiots who applauded the guy from Tennessee, who, by the way, got their ass beat handily by the University of Notre Dame for giving the finger as they went around the bases. People said that was actually good to do. That was showing. He was fighting. He's a fighter.
That's right.
Yeah, he's a piece of
fighter.
shit.
And by the way, the coach of that team, speaking of the topic we're on, that very same team only a couple of days later had a player ejected for dropping F-bombs on the home plate umpire, and that was shocked when he got tossed. Shocked, and even that was supported. It's
unbelievable.
What are we doing?
It's society, dude. And then and parents, don't call up a medical professional, and don't get 2, 3, 4, 5. Get as many opinions as you want, but the medical professional doesn't have any vested interest. Their only vested interest is getting your son or daughter healthy, not whether they pitch in Saturday's AAU playoff game. And they're going to tell you the truth. You might not like their approach, but they're going to tell you the truth. So don't shop around till you hear what you want to hear. You want to get your kid back on the field Look at people's resume, look at people's reviews, and pick the best medical professional. Don't shop around to hear, because guess what? About the human body, you know nothing. So listen to someone who does. That's all I got to
All
say
right.
on that. Well, hey, man, well, good show. But
Wrap.
again, everyone, thanks for listening. If you want to contact the show, you can please follow our YouTube group and subscribe, and Prove It Live podcast on YouTube. And if you ever want to email the show, please do at info@proveitlive.com. So we will see you all